In my past life, before my elder sister died of illness, she schemed to make me her husband's second wife. She counted on my kindness and integrity to preserve the Marquise's estate and raise her children well. I devoted my entire life to her children and husband, only to be rewarded with a cup of poisoned wine from my own offspring. How dare you, a mere concubine's daughter and second wife, expect us to call you mother? When I awoke again, my elder sister had caught me and my husband in the act. She placed our hands together. How could I ever blame you? We are sisters. After my death, you will care for the Marquis and the children. I couldn't be happier. I stared at her and sneered coldly. This time, the family estate you wanted me to guard, the children you wanted me to protect, I would destroy them all right before your eyes. When I awoke again, before me was the sickly face of my elder sister, Jiangji. She was clasping my hand and my brother-in-law's together. You love my husband, how could I blame you? We are sisters. With you to care for the Marquis, I couldn't be happier. Among all the sisters in our family, I've always been closest to you since childhood. She spoke, dabbing at her tearless eyes with a handkerchief. When I pass away, knowing the children have you means I can rest in peace. Familiar words, a familiar scene. It took me a moment to realize I had been reborn. In my previous life, it had been the same scene. Jiangji had brought a crowd to catch me and my brother-in-law in the act. Feeling my reputation ruined and with no way out, I had no choice but to agree. A year later, Jiangji passed away, and I became my brother-in-law's second wife. As promised, I helped secure the position of crown prince for her eldest son. Using my own money, I nurtured him into a capable man, paving his path to the highest ranks. I thought my life, though not happy, was complete. Little did I know it would end with a cup of poisoned wine from my stepson. You're merely a lowly concubine's daughter, an outsider's stepwife. You're unworthy of my calling you mother, of my filial duty to see you off. It turned out that year when I stumbled into my brother-in-law's study and was coincidentally caught by Jiangji, it was all orchestrated by her. She coveted my gentle nature and the substantial fortune my aunt had given me. That's why, among all her sisters, she singled me out and schemed against me. I spent my entire life under her control, toiling for her children until my death. It all felt like a great dream, utterly empty. I turned my gaze toward Jiangji. Seeing I wasn't intimidated, she shifted her tone to mention the reputation most precious to a woman. You were alone in a room with the Marquis. If word gets out, your life is over. But fear not, no outsiders are present to spread rumors. Dearest sister, rest assured you may prepare for marriage before my passing. I shall arrange everything for you. Surrounded by unfamiliar faces and their scornful stares, I let out a cold laugh. My dear Jiangji, you schemed so hard for this moment, wasn't it all to make me safeguard the Marquis' estate, protect the heir's position, and raise your son to greatness? Well, this time, I'll destroy it all right before your eyes, piece by piece. The Jiang household had many concubine-born daughters, and its rules were strict. As the fifth daughter, I was unremarkable. But my concubine mother was a merchant's daughter. She prepared a large sum of money as my dowry, making me a special case in the Jiang family. I had always thought that when I reached marriageable age, I would find a passable, ordinary man to marry. Even if he had no talents, relying solely on my money, we could live comfortably for the rest of our lives. I never imagined I'd end up marrying my elder sister's husband as his second wife. He was a full 10 years older than me. I treated him with the respect due an elder, harboring no romantic feelings whatsoever. In my past life, I accepted my fate. Who could blame me for spilling tea at the banquet and soaking my skirt? Who could blame me for stumbling into my brother-in-law's study? Who could blame me for changing clothes without checking if a man was hidden behind the screen? It was fate, and I accepted it. But now I know it wasn't. It was all orchestrated. I fell into her trap. I turned to look at Marquis Su Hanji of Xianping. He remained utterly composed throughout, still showing no intention of speaking. I averted my gaze and turned to my sister, tilting my head slightly. Sister, what are you saying? I don't understand. Jiangji frowned, tightening her grip on my hand. Fifth sister, I'm not blaming you for liking the Marquis. I cut her off. How could that be? I don't like my brother-in-law. I came to the study for another reason. Behind Jiangji, someone snorted derisively. A man and a woman alone together, what else could it be? Jiangji's piercing gaze locked onto me. I could refuse to nod now, but if today confirmed my connection to my brother-in-law, I'd have no way out. My future, my people, my wealth, all would be for her son's use. No. I came to the study to help someone retrieve a letter from my brother-in-law. I reached out to Su Hanji, brother-in-law, please give me the reply from the lady of Huyang County. Su Hanji, who had remained silent, hadn't anticipated this turn of events. He stared at me in shock, his eyes churning with turmoil. What? He exclaimed. You didn't know? But the lady of Huyang County said you were to give her your birth chart today so a high monk could arrange the marriage. Otherwise, once the monk leaves the capital, who knows how long we'll have to wait. Su Hanji's brow knotted into a tight knot. He must have been wondering how I knew about him and the lady of Huyang County. Because he had concealed it so well. In my previous life, even until the very end when they parted ways, no one knew about the affair between him and the lady of Huyang County. Fifth sister, what nonsense are you spouting? Jiangji's expression darkened even more than before. Doesn't Jiangji know? About her husband and the lady of Huyu County. I pressed my hand on Jiangji's shoulder. Sister, you should only worry about your own health. As for your husband remarrying after you're gone, you needn't concern yourself. He's already chosen his new wife. After saying this, I clasped my hands together in a bow toward the couple. Congratulations to you both, sister and brother-in-law. Inside the room, someone gasped sharply. Jiangji's face, as white as if dusted with flour, turned toward my brother-in-law. She asked, enunciating each word, before this concubine has even passed away, has the Marquis already found a replacement so eagerly? Jiang sure. Su Hanji sprang to his feet. Cease this nonsense. Fearing Jiangji might cause a scene, Su Hanji acted first and stepped out. Jiangji clutched her chest, clenching her teeth to suppress her rage. Her birthday banquet ended in discord. Even as I left, all the talk revolved around Su Hanji and the lady of Huyang County, not a word about me, the insignificant concubine's daughter. By the time I packed up to go home, chaos had erupted in the main courtyard of the Marquis's residence. Jiangji was the most arrogant and hypocritical of all. She could magnanimously arrange a new wife for Su Hanji, but she absolutely could not tolerate him seeking one himself. Moreover, who was the lady of Huyang? If she entered the household, how could Jiangji's son possibly have a good life? Jiangji was like an ant on a hot pan right now, both frantic and in agony. As I exited the Marquis's residence, I encountered Su Yao at the alley entrance. He clutched a wooden sword, his childish face flushed with anger. Spotting me, he rolled his eyes. Move! He waved the sword threateningly, implying physical force if I didn't yield. His temper had always been hot and unruly. In my past life, I'd exhausted countless efforts to soften his nature. I believed that as the heir to the Shoqing estate, being adaptable and diplomatic would serve him far better than being sharp and confrontational in this era of peace. He needed to navigate this era steadily and securely. Over 10 years, he learned what I taught him and mastered it well. After all, he put it to good use on me. I bent down to look at him, raising my eyebrows as I said, "Young Master Yao, your father and mother are fighting." Su Yao frowned at me. "You're getting a new mother." "Know who it is?" "The lady of Huyang County." I feigned envy. "How noble! I wish I had such a distinguished mother." "You're truly blessed." Su Yao stared at me in shock, then snapped, "I have a mother." "Stop talking nonsense. Go away." He ran back home. I wiped my hands, placed my hands on my hips, and looked up at the gilded plaque above the gate of the Marquis of Schwamping's residence. How familiar that entrance looked. Everything from my past life felt like a dream. How wonderful it was to be here again. I turned around and suddenly saw a man and a woman standing at the gate of the residence across the street. The woman was radiant, around 24 or 25 years old. The man was slender and dignified, probably just over 20. They were staring right at me too, their expressions oddly unsettled. I had no idea when they'd appeared or if they'd overheard my conversation with Su Yao. I hurriedly bowed in greeting and scrambled into the carriage. My heart pounded wildly, for the woman was none other than the lady of Huyang County I'd just mentioned. Widowed for years, she'd grown rather reckless in her ways, but the young man by her side was someone I'd never seen before. Surely the lady of Huyu County hadn't overheard me mentioning her? Then again, I hadn't made anything up. Her affair with Su Hanji was no secret. Jiangxi had caused quite a scene. Father and my stepmother had rushed to the Marquis's residence that very night. Word was, Jiangxi had even scratched Su Hanji's face. Su Hanji had smashed a teacup and spent the night at the magistrate's office. Jiangxi went quiet again. I grew anxious, so I had my concubine send an outside maid to deliberately visit Lady Zhou at the neighboring Baoding Marquis's residence, chatting aimlessly about this and that. 2 days later, a male companion suddenly died at the Lady of Huyang's residence. The deceased's elder brother reported it to the county office, claiming the companion wasn't a commoner but a scholar holding an official title. Thus, the matter reached the imperial court. Not only was the Lady of Huyu County stripped of her fiefdom, but Her Majesty the Empress, under the pretext of prayer, confined her to her quarters for 100 days and ordered her to copy Buddhist scriptures 100 times. To my surprise, the Lady of Huyu County sent me a blank copy of the scriptures. I dared not ponder her intentions and pretended not to receive it. Jiangxi has gone mad trying to undermine the Lady of Huyu County. She's even killed people. My aunt's voice trembled as she spoke. Had I known she'd kill that male companion, I'd never have agreed to let you send the maid to deliver the message. Auntie, be careful with my ears, I murmured, nestled on her lap as she cleaned them. Auntie knows how to handle things. Auntie's tone turned cautious again. I smiled with half-closed eyes. That male attendant's death is no loss. He had 2 lives on his hands. Why else would he avoid pursuing officialdom and hide away as a male attendant in the county princess's mansion? Auntie paused and asked me, "How do you know all this?" I knew it was because in my previous life, the scholar attendant had also died. But the matter hadn't escalated. The Huyang County princess had suppressed it. "My Shuer, you truly seem to have grown up," the concubine sighed. I held back tears. My growth hadn't come in a day or two, but through 33 years of dullness and defeat. Then I won't grow up. I'll stay with you forever, as your daughter. That won't do. You must marry when the time comes. Your aunt still longs to enjoy the joys of family life. I hugged my aunt's waist and laughed. Then I'll find a good husband and bear many children, so you can enjoy family bliss. In my past life, I bore no children. I took countless potions, yet never conceived a son or daughter before my death. Now I realize my infertility was likely caused by Jiangxi's poison. How else could I have remained barren? I made sure Su Hanji learned about the affair with my male companion through a series of indirect channels. He had to know this, otherwise, how could their marriage unravel? Just as I'd hoped, Su Hanji stormed home, drew his sword, and pointed it at Jiangxi. "You've grown utterly brazen. For a woman's petty jealousy, you not only dared to kill but also dared to bring this before His Majesty. You're manipulating His Majesty. This is treason. Do you even understand the gravity of this crime? You foolish woman." Su Hanji knew the emperor was suspicious by nature and understood the consequences of His Majesty learning of this affair. That day, Su Hanji, who had always indulged Jiangxi, not only pointed his sword at her but also struck her across the face. After 10 years of marriage, their relationship had always been strong. This was the first time Su Hanji had ever laid a hand on her. Jiangxi coughed up blood on the spot. Their hearts had drifted apart. But this was only the beginning. The next morning at court, the emperor remarked to Su Hanji with measured tone, "I hear you've had many domestic matters lately, Minister Su. Shall I send a few men to accompany you home and offer their counsel?" Su Hanji fell ill upon returning home. Our family went to visit Su Hanji, but we were stopped outside his study. Jiangxi, supported by a maid, was also standing at the door, denied entry. The Marquis said he is a junior and cannot bear the trouble of Mr. Jiang and Madam coming all this way. Please return. Su Hanji's servant blocked the door. Father's face flushed with embarrassment. He pointed at Jiangxi. "You foolish woman. You'll be the death of us all, sooner or later." With that, he flung his sleeves and stormed off. My stepmother's face turned ashen. She had us follow father, while she remained behind at the Marquis's residence. I suspected she intended to advise Jiangxi. In high spirits, I slipped out of the manor to indulge in the vegetarian dishes I'd been craving at Fahua Temple. But no sooner had I sat down than I encountered the lady of Huyang County and the young man who'd been with her last time. The lady of Huyang County spotted me too, raising an eyebrow slightly. I gave her a slight nod in greeting. Fortunately, the lady of Huyang County didn't intend to speak with me. She and the man across from her ate their meal at a leisurely pace. I couldn't help but glance at the young man several times. He wore a blue-green long robe, his slender fingers holding a soup spoon. His delicate, pale hand and the porcelain white spoon seemed to merge into one, possessing a fragile beauty. The caliber of courtesans these days was truly remarkable. Such an ethereal, otherworldly figure had actually taken a position as a courtesan. As I pondered this, the young man suddenly looked in my direction. Startled, I nodded to him. He returned my nod with a smile. Miss. The young monk placed several dishes before me. I froze. I didn't order these. The young monk gestured toward the table of the lady of Huyang County and the man. The lady invited you. I lifted my gaze. The lady of Huyang County and the man were also looking at me. I rose and bowed in greeting. Though it was a long-awaited vegetarian meal, it tasted as bland as wax to me. I finished quickly and hurried away. No sooner had I entered the house than the matron came to meet me. Miss Wu, something's happened to your stepmother. My heart skipped a beat. I lifted my skirt and ran to the main courtyard, where I found my stepmother kneeling under the scorching sun. She must have been there for ages, now swaying unsteadily. Stepmother! What happened? Who made you kneel here? She turned her head slowly toward me, grasped my hand, and whispered, They are masters, I am a servant. Whatever punishment they give me is deserved. This matter, you must not interfere. Just as I moved to help her up, Jiangxi emerged from the legitimate mother's chambers. Fifth sister, you've grown quite free-spirited lately. You come and go as you please, not even informing mother? I waited for her to continue. She stepped before me, looking down, but it wasn't mother who punished her. It was me. What do you mean, Jiangxi? I demanded. Your aunt broke the rules, consorting with Lady Zhou from the Baoding Marquis' household next door. That Lady Zhou was caught eloping this morning and beaten to death with clubs. Did you know about this? Jiangxi's gaze fixed on me like a venomous snake. She was telling me she'd uncovered that it was my aunt who had someone inform Lady Zhou about the male courtesan. After several twists and turns, the news reached her ears. She then killed the male companion, framed Princess Huyang, and ultimately drove a wedge between her and Su Hanji. I knew nothing about this mess. I protested. Jiangxi suddenly leaned close to me. Jiangshu, I offered you the position of Marquise's wife as a favor. Not only did you fail to recognize my generosity, but you also had the audacity to set a trap for me. A mere concubine's daughter, thinking she can defy heaven. Jiangxi sneered coldly. You all love associating with the Baoding Marquis' household, don't you? I've spoken with father. In 10 days, I'll send you to be the Baoding Marquis' concubine. I'll grant you your wish. You're always meddling in others' affairs. You should focus more on your own, I murmured softly. Sister, did you know? Your husband has been stripped of his official rank. Jiangxi staggered, her voice rising. What did you say? You didn't know? It just happened, but words already spread everywhere. Nonsense. Impossible. Our Marquis has always been diligent and earned the Emperor's favor. His Majesty wouldn't dismiss him over some trivial matter. Is that so? Is your betrayal of the Emperor, manipulating him for your own gain, a trivial matter? You. Jiangxi lunged to strike me, yet panic gripped her heart. Jiangshu, this between us is far from over. Su Hanji intended to divorce Jiangxi. He had not only persuaded the clan elder of the Su family but also summoned his own father and legitimate mother. Jiangxi naturally refused. She was about to die, and after death, she would surely be buried as the Marquise of Xinping, entering the Su family's ancestral tomb. Moreover, she hadn't yet found a suitable, easily manipulated, foolish stepmother for her children. Therefore, leaving the Xianping Marquis' residence was out of the question. Jiangxi planned to take her own life along with her 2 children. The Xianping Marquis' residence was thrown into utter chaos, becoming the capital's biggest laughingstock for a time. Yet despite the mockery, Su Hanji ultimately failed to divorce her. Perhaps because Jiangxi was his first wife and he still harbored affection, or perhaps because their eldest son was now old enough to remember things, or maybe. In any case, Jiangxi succeeded in remaining at the marquisate. But Su Hanji began avoiding home, spending his days either at the government office or drinking with others. A maid from the main wife's quarters stormed into the courtyard, grabbing me by the arm. "The lady has spoken. Today is the 5th Mrs. Day to visit the Baoding Marquis' residence. If you don't go willingly, we servants will have to force you. 5th Miss, you are still a lady of noble birth. Don't make this a spectacle. Get out!" The concubine swung her broom. "All of you, get out!" I'd already slipped out the side gate when the maids entered, heading straight for Tongxiang Pavilion. I knew father had a drinking gathering here today. I burst into the private room. The room full of high officials froze at my appearance. Father's face turned as green as painted wood. "What are you doing here?" "Father!" I stood in the doorway. "Come out for a moment. Your daughter has something to report." Father emerged with a dark expression, his voice low with fury. "You have no sense of propriety. How dare you come looking for me here? I have urgent matters. Necessity knows no law, you taught me that. Speak!" Father and I stood on the covered walkway flanked by private rooms, servants bustling by. I pulled him a few steps and whispered, "Father, you've lost your mind." His expression darkened, anger flaring in his eyes. He likely hadn't expected his concubine-born daughter to rebuke him. You ungrateful child. What did you say?" "Father, mother intends to send me to the Baoding Marquis' estate as a concubine." I whispered beside him, "But the Baoding Marquis is aligned with the 3rd prince. By sending your daughter to be his concubine, are you declaring your support for the 3rd prince against the crown prince?" Father's expression shifted abruptly. Glancing around warily, he gritted his teeth. "You foolish woman! How dare you speak of such matters?" I met his gaze directly. "My marriage is a minor matter, but your future and the lives of our entire clan are at stake. Please reconsider." In my past life, the Marquis of Baoding's household had indeed aligned with the 3rd prince. However, based on the timeline, the 3rd prince's rebellion wouldn't be exposed until 4 years hence. Whether the Marquis of Baoding's household had already sided with him now, I truly did not know. But that doesn't matter. This is a grave matter, father wouldn't act rashly. Then, wait until I return home to discuss it. Cold sweat beaded on father's forehead. He was afraid. "No, you must come home with me now. Otherwise, mother will send me off. You can't have me defying mother, can you? So you'll defy me?" Father pointed at me. "Look at this stubborn little thing you've raised. You're driving me mad." He ordered his personal steward to make a quick trip. Father gestured at me, then returned to the private room. "Then please hurry home," I reminded him at the door. I smiled sweetly and smoothed my skirt. Just then, the door of the adjacent private room opened, and a young man caught sight of me. I froze, but he already offered me a warm smile before leading his entourage away at a leisurely pace. This man was the consort of the Lady of Huyang County. What a carefree life a consort must lead, even such a luxurious restaurant was open to him. Jiangxi confronted his father, demanding to know why he hadn't been sent to the Baoding Marquis' mansion as a concubine. In the study, father raged furiously. I could hear every word clearly through the wall. Father must have uncovered some trace of the Baoding Marquis' dealings with the 3rd prince. Terrified, he pointed at Jiangxi and hurled vile insults. "My earlier words to you were wasted. The Baoding Marquis' mansion and the 3rd prince. Forget it. You're too stupid to understand." Jiangxi first refused to believe the rumors about the Marquis of Baoding's mansion and the 3rd prince, then burst into tears. Her stepmother rushed over to plead with her father, making the study a noisy, chaotic scene. I bent down to look at Su Yao, little Yao, have you been fighting with anyone lately? Sia shot me a withering glance before lowering his head to continue reading the storybook he just pulled out. My mother said you're a worthless servant and told me not to speak to you. You can leave now. Oh. I nodded. Seems like I don't need to share the secret I know with you after all. Suyao looked up at me, utterly bewildered. Stop right there. Fine, I'll tell you, but you mustn't repeat it. I lowered my voice. I know the eldest imperial grandson will select his companion readers in early May. This was true, though in my past life, Xiao hadn't been chosen, leaving Jiangxi bitterly disappointed for a long time. This time around, I would help Jiangxi fulfill the dream left unfinished in my previous life. You're lying. How could a concubine's daughter like you know something even my parents don't? Your father was dismissed from office. It's only natural he wouldn't know. So you must work hard to protect the Xianping Marquis estate. I smiled, patted his shoulder, and walked away. Suyao dropped his books and rushed off to find Jiangxi. Jiangxi was indeed deeply invested in this matter, never once questioning my motives for telling Suyao. Because serving as the Crown Prince's companion reader was something she desired in both lifetimes, something she believed was worth pursuing. She didn't care where the news came from. By mid-May, the companion reader for the Crown Prince was selected. Only one person was chosen, Suyao. Jiangxi was overjoyed and triumphant. She returned to her maternal home to boast about how Suyao had been chosen by both the Crown Prince and the eldest imperial grandson. She even summoned me to the main courtyard for tea, finally getting down to business. Did fifth sister tell brother Yao because she thought we wouldn't be selected, hoping to embarrass me? What a pity, she said, sipping her tea and speaking slowly. My dear brother Yao was chosen. Of course, I had to congratulate her. Ah, right, Jiangxi tossed me a name card. Take a look. Mother just picked out a husband for you. Not bad, he's a legitimate son. I stared at the name card on the floor. Qing Wenjing, a Juran scholar, 19 years old. I didn't need to look it up to know this marriage wouldn't be a good match. After all, Jiangxi would never let me marry well. Jiangxi set down her teacup, raising an eyebrow as she eyed me. If you refuse to be a marquis' second wife, this is the sort you'll end up with. Perfectly matched. Jiangxi seemed quite pleased to see me looking dejected. She waved me away. I didn't argue with her. After returning home, my aunt immediately began inquiring about Qing Wenjing, even taking me to see him. We watched him while hurling insults. This man had a long list of vices. At 19, he was already a regular at brothels. Not only that, but he'd slept with every slightly attractive maid in his harem. If not for his formidable mother cleaning up his messes, he'd likely have more children than he could count. And he's ugly too. I frowned, gazing at the young man across the tea house, who was clutching a beauty while hurling insults. And he's short and dark. My aunt tapped my head. Ugly or not, that's not the issue. He's filthy. I nodded in agreement. Filthy, filthy, utterly filthy. My aunt paced anxiously. This won't do. I must speak to your father. I absolutely cannot let you marry this man. Auntie, don't worry. I have this under control, I said. What do you know? This calls for me to handle it with your father. I haven't exhausted all my tricks for charming men yet. Auntie glared at me, then laughed. I was both amused and exasperated. Pulling up my skirt, I chased after Auntie. Slow down. Auntie, how do you charm men? Teach me a few tricks. Auntie, watch out. A carriage whizzed past her. Startled, I yanked her out of the way, but my own back slammed into something. Staggering, I was about to stumble forward when suddenly an arm caught mine. Regaining my balance, I hurriedly thanked the person who had steadied me. It was nothing, miss. No need to thank me, the person said. That voice. I froze, looked up, and then froze again. The man glanced at me too. Though I wore a veil, he seemed to recognize me. Yet he merely gave a faint smile before walking away. Sure, are you all right? Auntie came over, hugging me to check. I'm fine. I stared blankly at the man's retreating back. My mother had arranged a marriage with the Qing family, but fate intervened to ruin the match. Qing Wenjing had his leg broken. It happened in a brothel, during a jealousy-fueled brawl. Someone had indeed done a good deed, accomplishing what I intended. My mother was furious and summoned me to vent her anger. Just as she began, envoys from the Marquis's residence arrived and whispered something in her ear. She hurried off with her attendants to the Marquis's estate. By afternoon, rumors spread throughout the capital that Suyao had committed murder. At the academy, he had dismembered a young eunuch and flayed his skin. They say when he was discovered, Suyao was covered in blood, his eyes bloodshot, looking like a man-eating beast. Though Brother Yao can be a bit wild, he's not the sort to do something like this, my stepmother sighed. I agreed with her. I suspect the Crown Prince's eldest grandson did this, with Suyao likely just playing along. Facing such a brutal Crown Prince, he wouldn't dare oppose him. But once this scandal erupted, Suyao would have to take the fall for the Crown Prince's crimes. After all, the esteemed Crown Prince couldn't possibly be such a monstrous beast. Sure, how do you think His Majesty will handle this? My stepmother asked me. Given His Majesty's style, he likely won't hold anyone accountable. It is a 7-year-old child, after all. But the Crown Prince. That's another matter. The Crown Prince won't just sit idly by to protect the eldest imperial grandson. The Crown Prince. He won't. He won't want to silence him, will he? My aunt's face paled. It shouldn't come to that. Suyao is still the heir apparent of the Marquis of Xianping. He can't just kill him at will, I said. I guess the Crown Prince would have Su Hanji send Suyao away from the capital. Sure enough, 2 days later, Su Hanji personally drove the carriage, with Suyao bound inside. They departed amid the terrified, evasive stares of the entire capital. Suyao's future was gone. Whether it was the current emperor, the future Crown Prince ascending the throne, or even when the empire passed to the eldest grandson, 3 generations would never employ him. Wearing a veil, I stood by the roadside, watching Suyao climb into the carriage. This boy, how glorious he was in my past life, forcing me to drink poisoned wine with cold, arrogant flair. This lifetime, it seems, he won't be so fortunate. My mood was quite cheerful. I bought 2 pieces of pea paste cake by the roadside and ate them as I walked. Suddenly, someone blocked my path. Miss Jiangwu, our county princess requests your presence. Miss Jiangwu? I shook my head. You've mistaken me for someone else. I'm not her. With my face hidden behind a veil, he couldn't be certain anyway. The servant across from me froze. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, I hurriedly slipped into the crowd and ran off. I wanted nothing to do with the lady of Huyu County. Her status was too high. If she took issue with me, she could have me killed without facing any consequences. Avoiding her day by day was my only option. Jiangxi stormed home, charging straight into my courtyard the moment she entered. I was learning bookkeeping with my stepmother when she flipped the table without a word and raised her hand to slap me. I blocked her hand and asked, Jiangxi, what's this about? You knew everything, didn't you? You knew the Crown Prince's eldest grandson was that kind of person, so you deliberately lured Yao into becoming his companion reader, didn't you? I laughed. Jiangxi, I only spoke 1 sentence. You did all the rest. Jiangxi froze. You pulled strings to find him. You even turned a blind eye when the Marquis sought help from the lady of Huyu County. When Yao became the companion reader, you were so thrilled you couldn't sleep. Now that trouble's come, it's my fault? Not because your son is too brilliant? You're quite the scheming mother, aren't you? Jiangxi, enraged and humiliated, grabbed the abacus tossed onto the bed and swung it, smashing it into the head of the concubine who'd tried to intervene. The concubine's head split open instantly. Concubine! I supported her, glaring at Jiangxi. Jiangxi pointed at me, you ruined my son and drove a wedge between me and the Marquis. A single gash isn't enough. I'll make you both die. I replied coldly, then we'll see just how capable you really are. Jiangxi gave a sinister chuckle and suddenly sat down on the floor. Her personal maid's eyes darted around before she cried out, oh no! Concubine who has struck the eldest young miss. Someone, help! Chaotic footsteps quickly echoed from inside and outside the courtyard. Jiangxi looked at me defiantly and taunted, "Madam who still has some looks left. Selling her to the brothel might fetch a decent price." My legitimate mother stormed in with her maids and maidservants, ordering them to bind my aunt. "Servants," she commanded, "drag this lawless creature out to be sold." I stepped in front of my aunt, standing on the Kong and staring straight at my legitimate mother. "The lawless one is you, mother. My concubine is a legitimate wife." The legitimate mother laughed. "Miss Wu reminds me, she is a legitimate wife, not for sale." She paused, glaring at me but addressing the matrons, "Then drag her out." 50 strokes of the cane. Miss Wu, for disrespecting her mother, 30 slaps across the face and kneeling in the ancestral hall. The maidservants lunged forward. I gripped the fruit knife, pointing it at them. "Who dares touch me?" "Jiang Shu!" the legitimate mother roared. "You dare threaten murder? You've lost your mind." "Who is the mind? Even if this household had a mind, it wouldn't be yours." I enunciated each word. "I demand to see father. If he says to punish me and my concubine, I won't argue. Otherwise, whoever comes near me today, I'll kill them." My stepmother's teeth chattered with rage. Jiangxi interjected, "Mother, why listen to her nonsense? Let's see if she dares wield that knife." Jiangxi shoved an old woman forward. As she charged, I swung the knife, slashing her hand. Blood gushed instantly, filling the room with the stench of blood. Everyone froze, realizing I truly meant to kill. "Mad! Mad!" the stepmother raged. "Go fetch the master. Beat this mother and daughter to death." When father returned, we were still locked in confrontation. Already in a foul mood, he stormed in and bellowed at me, "Drop that knife. Get to the ancestral hall and kneel." "Father, you may punish me, but I have something to say," I replied. He roared, demanding I speak. "I can only speak with you alone." Father was about to scold me, but he recalled the matter of the Baoding Marquis' estate I'd mentioned last time. Suddenly restraining himself, he waved his hand. "Fifth son, stay. Everyone else, leave." My mother and Jiangxi reluctantly led their people out. I entrusted my stepmother to a trusted servant and closed the door. "Father, both you and the Marquis are in danger." Father froze, staring at me in surprise. Yao Gur would never commit murder and skinning. This must be the work of the eldest imperial grandson. I imagine Yao Gur has already told you and the Marquis. Father clenched his fists, his voice strained. "Where did you hear such nonsense? Stop this nonsense." "Father can silence his daughter, but he cannot silence the third prince," I murmured. "The emperor may not know of the eldest grandson's perversions now, but what if tomorrow, or worse, the entire capital, learns the truth? Even if it's a rumor, it will be traced back to you. Can you and the Marquis bear that responsibility?" Father trembled. He understood the gravity of what I said. The crown prince would not let them off. The third prince is determined to bring down the crown prince. He's so clever, he won't pass up this opportunity. You must save yourselves before the third prince acts. Father broke out in a cold sweat, slumping into his chair, utterly disoriented. Perhaps he had anticipated this, or perhaps not, but now, he was terrified. "Father, I have a way to save ourselves. Would you hear it?" I asked him. Father snapped his head up to look at me, his eyes churning with stormy turmoil. After a long moment, he asked, his voice hollow, "What is your plan? Speak." He had truly aged. He had held his third-rank official position for a full decade. And he was truly afraid. Not advancing was one thing, but being humiliatingly stripped of his title was another. Worse still, facing death in his twilight years and bringing ruin upon his entire clan. "Let the eldest imperial grandson cause another incident," I said. Father stared at me, his fingertips trembling. He understood and nodded. "That makes sense. That makes sense. Let him cause another incident, one he himself exposes. Let His Majesty witness it firsthand. Then the crown prince won't blame us. He can't suspect we were the ones who spoke up." Father hurried to leave, but I stopped him. Father, regarding today's matter and my marriage, you must help your daughter decide. Father looked at me deeply. I never knew I, Jiang Jiang, had raised such a deep-thinking daughter. He swept his sleeves and stormed out, scolding my legitimate mother and Jiang Ji at the doorway. What's all this commotion? Is the household not chaotic enough? Hurry and fetch a doctor for consort who. A head injury is no small matter. Father! Master! Shut up! Father hurried off to consult his advisors on a countermeasure. The stepmother and Jiang Ji glared, but could only obediently fetch a doctor for my concubine. I stood before Jiang Ji, enunciating each word. This debt, I will make you repay. Father exposed the crown prince's bloodthirsty tendencies before the third prince could act. The crown prince had slaughtered a dog behind the academy. As he hung the dog and beat it, the emperor was led to the scene. He witnessed firsthand the inhuman side of his cherished eldest grandson. Enraged, the emperor immediately confined the crown prince. He summoned the crown prince and gave him a severe scolding. The scandal could not be contained. The third prince, drawn by the scent of blood, seized the opportunity. Petitions flooded the court, demanding the emperor depose both the crown prince and the eldest grandson. When father returned that evening, his palanquin was carried all the way to the central courtyard. Stepping down, his legs gave way and he stumbled, falling. A servant had to carry him to the study. Fifth miss, father summons you to the study, his attendant called to me. When I entered the study, Jiang Ji was already there. Leaning against a chair, her face deathly pale and visibly ill, she was in the midst of an argument with father. Even if Qing Wenjing is flawed, he's more than worthy of her. Father, what kind of poison has Jiang Shu fed you? Father slammed the table. I've always prioritized you above all else. I personally taught you everything from childhood, only to end up with a fool like you. For personal grudges, you're marrying your sister off to a wastrel. What do you gain? Reputation? Wealth? You just want to vent your anger. Father, she's the one who drove a wedge between me and the Marquis. She's the one who ruined Yao's reputation and forced him into exile. If you won't let me take revenge, you're trying to drive me to death. In the past, seeing her like this would have pained him, but today, there was not a trace of pity in his eyes. What could she possibly do? Every single deed, didn't you orchestrate them all yourself? If you blame her, first take a mirror and look at your own foolish reflection. Jiang Ji began coughing violently. I approached. Seeing me, she sprang up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, mustering every ounce of strength. Jiang Shu. What are you doing here? You have no right to be here. Get out! Father summoned me. Ignoring her, I curtsied. Father, what instructions do you have for your daughter? Father didn't glance at Jiang Ji, gesturing for me to sit. Tell me, he said, what should our next move be? Father, you ask her? What good is asking her? She's nothing but a lowly servant. What could she possibly know? Jiang Ji shrieked. Shut your mouth. Should I listen to your raving instead? Father pointed at Jiang Ji. Listen carefully and keep this in mind. Don't act recklessly and ruin our plans. But if you open your mouth again, you'll be thrown out. Jiang Ji, enraged, collapsed into a chair, clutching her chest as she gasped for breath, glaring at me with venom. His Majesty won't depose the crown prince. After all, he raised him personally, his legitimate eldest son. His bond with him is different from the other princes. As I spoke, father glanced at Jiang Ji with a look of anger and disgust. Among his legitimate children, only my eldest brother Jiang Feng and Jiang Ji remained. Brother Jiang Feng had been sent with his family to govern in Jiangnan, leaving only Jiang Ji as the sole legitimate heir by father's side. That's precisely why the mention of raising him personally infuriated him even more. We've discussed this and agree. Though the eldest grandson is crippled, the crown prince has other sons, his position remains secure. Father stated. But now that the third prince has intervened, he cannot back down. The court will inevitably become a sea of intrigue. As Minister of War, you cannot remain untouched by the turmoil. Father nodded. But now, because of Yao's affair, the crown prince harbors resentment toward you, and the third prince is no saint either. Since neither side is trustworthy, perhaps we should seek another path. With your current influence in court, you certainly have the capability. Father looked at me in surprise. Is there another prince in the court you favor? I asked. In the timeline of my past life, 4 years later, the third prince's rebellion failed and he was executed. 5 years after that, the emperor passed away and the crown prince ascended the throne, but he ruled for only a year and a half. After his sudden death, the 18-year-old eldest grandson killed 2 of his brothers and seized the imperial throne. Compared to the 7-year-old he was now, the 18-year-old eldest grandson had not improved, he had grown even more brutal and bloodthirsty. In short, during the eldest grandson's reign, everyone in the court lived in constant fear. Su Hanji frequently feigned illness to avoid court duties, eventually passing his title to Su Yao and retiring to wander the mountains and rivers. Su Yao proved far more adept at court politics than the aloof Su Hanji. He thrived in the imperial court, rising rapidly through the ranks until he became one of the emperor's most trusted ministers. But in this lifetime, if I could influence court affairs, I would hope the next emperor would not be the eldest grandson. While who ascends the throne may not affect me personally, it profoundly impacts the lives of the common people. They already endure enough hardship. If those in power cannot aid them, that is one thing, but they must not heap further suffering upon them. There are still the second prince and the 5th prince in the court, Father remarked. Then choose one, I replied. Even if he cannot accomplish much, having a pillar of support would be beneficial. How dare you? Jiang Ji roared. Jiang Shu, do you realize what you're saying? This is utter treason. How dare you? I shot Jiang Ji a withering glance. Attendants! Father commanded angrily. Escort the eldest daughter back to her quarters. Jiang Ji cried out, Father. What does she know? How could you discuss such momentous matters with her? Have you lost your mind in your old age? Father slapped Jiang Ji across the face, pointing at her. If it weren't for you murdering that courtier and framing the Lady of Huyang, bringing it before the emperor, would the marquis have been stripped of his title? If you hadn't insisted on sending Yaoer to be a companion reader, he wouldn't have been ruined, nor would he have become a thorn in the crown prince's side. All our troubles stem from you. You foolish woman. If you wish to die, then die quickly. If you keep causing trouble, you'll drag both our families, hundreds of lives, to their deaths. Jiang Ji couldn't believe it. The father who had always doted on her was now telling her to die. She staggered, her gaze shifting to me. Before I could hide the smile on my face, I decided to keep it. I laughed openly, showing her my amusement. Jiang Ji flew into a rage, lunging at me to strike. I tripped her with my foot, sending her crashing into a chair before tumbling to the floor. Jiang Shu! This is all your fault. I'll kill you! She screamed. I've done nothing. I don't understand what you're saying. I spread my hands. You keep calling me a lowly maid, a mere concubine's daughter. How could someone like me harm you, the noble legitimate daughter, the noble marquis's wife? I'll kill you. I'll kill you, Jiang Ji repeated. Jiang Ji, you refuse to acknowledge me as your sister, but I still must remind you, instead of spending your time cursing me at home, you'd be better off returning to the marquis's residence sooner. She stared at me, her gaze dark and menacing. Young Master Yao is now a thorn in the side of the crown prince, the emperor's eldest grandson, and even his majesty himself. I suspect that once the marquis returns, his title may not even be safe. I said. You'd better enjoy the last vestiges of glory that come with being the Marquis of Schwamping's wife while you still can. His Majesty harbors resentment. He won't vent it on his own son behind closed doors, so he'll take it out on someone else. Jiang Ji froze, still lying prostrate with her head tilted back to look at me. After a long moment, comprehension dawned. How? How could this be? Impossible. The words barely left her lips before panic overwhelmed her, and she fainted. Father ordered servants to carry Jiang Ji away. The physician reported her condition was critical, absolute rest was imperative. Without it, she might not even survive the year. Jiang Ji grew frantic, sending repeated letters to Su Hanji demanding his return. She insisted on settling all her affairs before her death. She also began ordering her fourth sister, Jiang Lan, to attend to her daily needs. Her plan was to arrange for Jiang Lan to become Su Hanji's new wife. I wasn't worried about Jiang Lan. She was clever, beautiful, and knew how to hide her true capabilities. Whether or not to marry Su Hanji was a decision she would weigh carefully herself. If she agreed, it would mean she truly believed Su Hanji was her best option. Jiang Ji pressured Jiang Lan into promising to care for Su Yao for the rest of her life, vowing that even if Jiang Lan bore a son in the future, he would never challenge Su Yao's position as heir apparent. Jiang Lan agreed. Fourth sister, why didn't you go to the main courtyard today? I encountered Jiang Lan pruning flowers in the garden. She wore a faded jacket, her face bare of makeup. One might mistake her for a maid if not paying attention. She plucked a flower and pinned it in my hair, then studied me from head to toe. I've always thought you're the most beautiful among our sisters. I chuckled softly. I have some flower tea. Would you like some? Jiang Lan asked me. I know you have preaching Ming Longjing. Why only offer me flower tea? I smiled, my gaze fixed on her face. Fourth sister, you're being stingy. The preaching Ming Longjing was a gift from Jiang Ji. Tea is tea. It all tastes the same. What's the point of distinguishing preaching Ming from post-Qing Ming? All that pretentious nonsense. I threw mine out to feed the dogs ages ago. Jiang Lan took my hand. Let's just have the flower tea. I made it myself, she said, winking playfully at me. I gazed at Jiang Ji's profile. Did Jiang Ji truly understand Jiang Lan? A box of drugged preaching Ming Longjing, Jiang Ji thought his scheme was flawless, but in Jiang Lan's eyes, it had long been transparent. That evening, while dining with my stepmother, Jiang Lan's maid burst in, wailing hoarsely, "Fifth young miss, please save fourth young miss. The eldest mistress is forcing our young miss to drink some infertility potion." My stepmother stared in disbelief, and so did I. Jiang Ji had truly lost her mind. I rushed to the main courtyard. Father was absent, and whatever madness Jiang Ji displayed, the legitimate mother would indulge. So when I entered, Jiang Lan was being held down by two maidservants, forcing medicine into her mouth. This scene hadn't occurred in my past life because I hadn't been as clever as Jiang Lan. I'd mistaken the Longjing tea Jiang Ji sent as a token of goodwill and drank it all. This time, Jiang Lan refused to drink it, so Jiang Ji resorted to force. I burst in, shoving the two maids aside. One lost her balance and knocked over the legitimate mother in the process. The room erupted into chaos. Did she take the medicine? I held Jiang Lan, staring at her tear-filled, pale face, suddenly remembering her past life. In her past life, her stepmother had married her off to a nephew from her maternal family, a man who drank, gambled, and caroused. Not only was his family poor, and he did no proper work, but crucially, every time he came home drunk, he beat Jiang Lan. She lost 2 pregnancies to his beatings. She died at just 21, in the prime of her youth. I'm fine, Jiang Lan wiped her lips and gave a bitter smile. I clenched my jaw, nothing went down. I helped her up, then turned to face her stepmother and Jiang Ji. I've invited father and the Marquis. We'll sit down shortly and settle this fairly. You dare! The stepmother exclaimed. At this point, there's nothing I wouldn't dare do to you. In my past life, I certainly wouldn't have dared. But in this one, I truly had nothing to fear. The greatest thing was death. As for my reputation, the family's reputation, those came after life and death. What's all this commotion? Father returned, followed by Su Hanji, who had just arrived in the capital and hadn't even gone back to the Marquis' residence. Mother and Jiang Ji forced fourth sister to drink a barrenness potion, I said, turning to Su Hanji. They claimed she could become my brother-in-law's second wife but couldn't bear him children. She said my brother-in-law could only have Su Yao as his son this lifetime, and everything you own must go to Su Yao. Su Hanji's face flushed crimson then drained pale. After a long moment, he glared at Jiang Ji and sneered, "You needn't concern yourself with my family's estate, for I shall no longer be a marquis, and your son will cease to be the heir apparent." These words struck like a heavy blow, at least for Jiang Ji. Struggling to sit up, she stared with vacant eyes. "What of your title?" "Gone," Su Hanji answered crisply. "If you cared so much for my title, you should have died sooner. That way, your tombstone could still bear the title Lady of the Marquis of Xianping." Jiangxi couldn't catch his breath, leaning on the bed rail as he coughed up a mouthful of blood. Impossible! On what grounds would His Majesty strip you of your title? For such a trivial matter, he shouldn't have done this. Su Hanji stood with his hands behind his back, his expression icy cold. The tenderness of old was gone from his gaze as he looked at Jiangxi, replaced only by hatred. What's significant and what's trivial isn't for you or me to judge. If His Majesty deems it significant, then it is. Jiangxi coughed up another mouthful of blood. It's Jiangshu. Jiangshu ruined me. Jiangxi collapsed limply. Her mother-in-law cried out, "My son," and caught her body. Don't get worked up. Just rest well. Don't worry about anything else. Jiangxi leaned against his mother-in-law's embrace. I am the lady of Xianping Marquis. My son is the heir apparent of Xianping Marquis. No one can take that away. No one. Mother, why? I have nothing left. The Marquis doesn't care for me. He secretly matched his horoscope with the Princess of Huyang. Everything I cherished is gone. Jiangxi's neck went limp. Her gaze, which had been drifting, settled on me and instantly brightened. I had a dream last night. I dreamt you promised me you'd marry the Marquis. You raised my Yaoji so well he became a minister of the Emperor. I knew you could do it, that's why I chose you. Jiangshu. Jiangshu, you must raise my son to be a man of talent, just like in my dream. Otherwise, even as a ghost, I won't let you rest. I watched her impassively, a smile threatening to escape. Her dream was so beautiful, everything she desired. Pity it wouldn't come true this lifetime. Jiangxi died, 6 months earlier than in her past life. When she died, she had nothing. The splendid, ornate tombstone engraved for her as the Marquis of Xuanping's wife was discarded. Su Hanji had a new one carved for her. Plain and ordinary, without a shred of grandeur. Her stepmother wailed heart-wrenchingly. 2 months later, her father asked Jiang Lan if she wished to become Su Hanji's second wife. Jiang Lan refused. Her stepmother slapped her across the face and punished her by making her kneel in the ancestral hall for 3 days, yet she still wouldn't agree. I asked Jiang Lan, didn't you have that intention? When he was a marquis, I didn't mind. After all, marriage is marriage. I naturally wanted someone of higher standing, at least someone who could provide food and warmth. But now that he's no longer a marquis, why should I throw myself at him? Besides, Yao will return sooner or later. Seeing him would only make me feel stiff and uncomfortable. I pinched her cheek and smiled. You're still the smart one. She was indeed wise. In my past life, I never gave it much thought, muddling through my entire existence. I heard Mother is arranging another marriage for you. Be careful, Jiang Lan warned me. She hates you. She won't let you have it easy. Let her fuss. In time, something will happen that will make her even angrier, I replied. There were 4 more daughters at home awaiting marriage, me, Jiang Lan, 3rd sister, and 6th sister. With the court now in turmoil, Father, deprived of the Xianping Marquis' backing, would surely set his sights on us sisters. Therefore, he would register all of us under our legitimate mother's name. You don't care about marriage anymore? Jiang Lan asked me. It depends on whom Mother chooses. As you said, marriage is inevitable. So I'll choose carefully. Perhaps I'll pick someone short-lived, then wouldn't I enjoy endless blessings this lifetime? Jiang Lan froze, then jabbed my forehead. You silly girl. What nonsense are you thinking? Marrying into widowhood, what blessings could there be? I just smiled without answering. She was still too young, untouched by marriage. When there's no respect or love between spouses, widowhood truly is the freest path. Sure enough, half a month later, Father registered all 4 of us sisters under our stepmother's name. Though she fell gravely ill from the shock, it couldn't sway his decision. His plan was clear. He intended to arrange marriages for all 4 of us. Auntie began fretting again, wondering what sort of husband Father would choose for me. Don't let him choose. I'll pick my own. I set down my chopsticks. Auntie, I'm heading to the shop. A new shipment of grain arrived today. I'll go check the quality. Auntie watched me with a sigh. Why aren't you worried? I stuck out my tongue at her and left the Jiang residence. The weather was lovely today, so I strolled along the main street. By the time I reached the shop, the new goods had already arrived. Wearing a veil, I busied myself counting the merchandise at the entrance. When I looked up, I spotted Su Hanji in the tea house across the street. Even through the gauze curtain, Su Hanji recognized me and gave me a nod. After finishing my shop duties, I stepped outside to find Su Hanji's carriage waiting at the street corner. He lifted the curtain, watching me, and motioned for me to come over and talk. Need something? I looked up at him, unsure how to address him. He held no official position, no noble title, and was no longer my sister's husband. Su Hanji paused, then suddenly asked, "Earlier, I was having tea with the fifth prince." I froze. So father had chosen the fifth prince among the imperial sons. But in my past life, the fifth prince, titled Prince Jean, had achieved little. It wasn't until the crown prince ascended the throne and died suddenly, and the eldest grandson took the throne, that he appeared in court. And it was precisely because of him that the court wasn't turned upside down by the eldest grandson. Father. Minister Jiang mentioned you advised him to seek other avenues. So I wanted to ask, what are your thoughts? I looked at him in confusion, unsure of his meaning. First, discussing court affairs with me was certainly inappropriate. Second, doing so on this public street was even more so. Su Hanji saw the confusion in my eyes through the curtain and realized his mistake, offering an awkward smile. I was too forward. I'll come to your home tonight to discuss today's matters. I took a step back, signaling he could leave. That evening, Su Hanji did indeed come. I was invited to my father's study. They discussed the fifth prince while I listened nearby. The fifth prince was 22 this year. He'd been betrothed twice before, but whether by coincidence or fate, both brides passed away before the marriage was consummated. His background was actually quite respectable. His mother was the former consort Duan. Later, consort Duan was banished to the coal palace on charges of plotting against her own offspring. She died there when the fifth prince was 7. The fifth prince fared reasonably well. Until age 10, he was raised in the empress's palace. Being well-behaved and sensible, the empress treated him quite kindly. Moreover, a crucial factor was his excellent relationship with the crown prince, as close as brothers born of the same mother. "Father, your choice is most brilliant," I remarked. Father's eyes lit up, seemingly pleased by my praise. "Tell me, what makes it so brilliant?" Su Hanji also waited with keen interest for my explanation. "If the fifth prince harbors ambitions for the throne, we can plan accordingly. If not, cultivating a close relationship with him is like gaining another layer of favor and protection in the crown prince's presence," I explained. Father and Su Hanji exchanged a glance and both smiled. "There's another matter, the fifth prince hasn't taken a wife yet." Father looked at me, leaving the sentence unfinished. Su Hanji froze, his brow furrowing. I understood immediately and asked father directly, "You want me to become the fifth prince's consort?" Setting aside other considerations, do you truly believe my background qualifies me to be a royal consort? Father was pleased with my sharpness now. "You won't know unless you ask. Besides, 2 consorts have already died before the fifth prince. Even if he wants to marry another noble lady, no one would dare." Su Hanji interrupted father. "Father-in-law, fifth sister is still young. This seems inappropriate." Father looked at Su Hanji in confusion. "Jiangshu will be 16 after the 6th month." Su Hanji immediately looked sheepish, cleared his throat urgently, and came up with another excuse. "There are other ways to get closer to the fifth prince besides a marriage alliance." Father waved his hand dismissively. "Nothing is more reliable than a marriage alliance." He turned his gaze to me. "Of all the daughters in this household, I believe you are the most suitable. If you agree, I will handle the rest." Su Hanji looked at me, his expression tense. "Fifth sister, consider this carefully. Don't make a rash decision." I glanced at Su Hanji, equally puzzled. After learning of father's intentions, mother grew deeply troubled. Who knows what kind of man the fifth prince is? He's already outlived 2 consorts, could he be unlucky for wives? She lay awake at night, frantic, scheming ways to lure father into her chambers. That night, she exhausted every tactic, coaxing him not to marry me off to the fifth prince. This time, she failed. Father slipped on his clothes and left in the dead of night. The next day, she showered him with affection, presenting him with a painting from the previous dynasty worth 2,000 taels. Father treasured it like a priceless gem, yet still wouldn't budge. The concubine wilted, sighing heavily. Master is like a man possessed, not listening to a word I say. Turning to me, her eyes reddened with self-reproach. It's because you're not his legitimate daughter. Had you been born from the lady's womb, he'd never treat your marriage so casually. I felt both amused and exasperated, wiping her tears. To Father, a daughter's marriage is useful only when it serves his purposes. He makes no distinction between legitimate and illegitimate. Then what do you intend to do? Father says he'll wait for your decision, the concubine pressed. I didn't want to marry, but I needed a reason Father couldn't refuse. Before I could formulate one, the invitation from the lady of Huyang County arrived. I considered feigning illness to decline, but upon turning it over, I saw her handwritten note, 5th young miss, surely there's no mistake this time? Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. I sheepishly tucked the invitation into my sleeve and headed to the lady of Huyu County's residence. Her mansion stood directly across from the Marquis of Schwamping's estate. I'd even seen her with her male companion at the gate last time. Inside, the lady of Huyu County sat regally on a 4-poster bed, dressed in a crimson court gown. Her eyes lit up when she saw me, and she smiled meaningfully. We've met twice before, but today is our third encounter, and yet this is our first conversation. 5th miss, please sit. Thank you, County Princess. I sat down on the round stool before her, perching only halfway. The County Princess inquired about my family affairs and asked about Su Yao. I answered each question in turn. She took a sip of tea, then shifted the conversation. How did you learn of my dealings with the Marquis of Xianping? The question finally came, and the weight on my heart lifted in that instant. Bowing my head respectfully, I replied, it was merely a chance sighting. I saw the Marquis leaving your residence. I glanced at her, my expression flitting to one of flustered guilt. That day, in my desperation to save myself, I spoke without restraint, making up lies on the spot. The lady of Huyang County looked at me and smiled, her expression still deeply meaningful, impossible to decipher. Suddenly, she asked me, you're 16 now, 5th young miss? Has your family not yet arranged a marriage for you? I replied, my eldest sister just passed away. Father can't bear to part with us sisters and wants to keep us by his side a few more years. Master Jiang is being foolish. A daughter of 16 should have had her marriage arranged long ago. The lady of Huyu County paused, then suddenly added, how about this, shall I act as your matchmaker? After leaving the lady of Huyu County's residence, I was still reeling. It wasn't that I didn't understand what she said, but rather why she would do such a thing. She wanted to arrange a match between me and the 5th prince. Would the 5th prince agree? I'd almost blurted out that question, but I dared not. Though she couldn't truly harm me, her actions were always unpredictable. I couldn't fathom her next move. When I arrived home, the servants' expressions were oddly peculiar. Even Jiang Lan, whom I encountered on the street, seemed hesitant, as if she had something to say but held back. I stopped her. What's going on? Why is everyone looking at me so strangely? You don't know? Jiang Lan asked me. I truly don't know. Stop teasing me. Jiang Lan looked at me and burst out laughing. The way you look, you're trying to scare me to death. You're taking this way too seriously. She paused. The Marquis has proposed marriage to Father. He's asking for you. I froze, my mind blank. It took ages for my thoughts to start turning, like an old, creaky mechanism. Su Hanji wants to marry me? Has he lost his mind? I'm going to see Father. I turned and headed straight for his study. He didn't seem surprised to see me. He motioned for me to sit down. Before he could speak, I blurted out, have you been promoted? Father paused, then broke into a smile, the wrinkles at his eyes blooming like a flower. You're still the sharpest. Into the cabinet? Father shushed me. Thanks to the 5th prince. It'll happen within days. So that's it. I knew my charm wasn't that powerful. One day of this, and suddenly matchmakers are swarming and suitors are lining up. Don't concern yourself with Lord Su's proposal. If he wishes to honor your eldest sister's dying wish and marry one of my daughters as his second wife, let him choose between the third or fourth. The fifth? Forget it. And then? Then he left. Father smiled slightly, looking at me. What did the county princess want with you? I relayed the Huyang county princess's words to father. His eyes lit up as he listened. My child, this is a sure thing. I slumped my shoulders. I don't want to marry royalty. I have wealth, and father is a grand secretary. Can't I just marry an ordinary man? Father's expression darkened. The lady of Huyang County has made her request, which means the fifth prince also has feelings for you. If you refuse, we'll be creating an enemy. I asked my stepmother to find me an ordinary man. If that failed, I'd act first and report later, make the rice cooked before the horses bought. So be it. My stepmother searched tirelessly and actually found one. A 19-year-old scholar from a poor family, but quite handsome. I changed my clothes, planning to sneak a peek. If I liked him, I'd make it official. The young man worked at a tea house in the mornings. I pretended to drink tea, found a seat, and just as I sat down, I heard someone at the next table say, "Have you heard? Yesterday the imperial physician visited the fifth prince's residence. They say the fifth prince has a terminal illness." I froze. The fifth prince is only 22. How could he have a terminal illness? The speaker sighed. Who knows what goes on in the palace? They say he has only a year or two left. They also say he hasn't arranged any marriages lately because of his poor health. He doesn't want to burden anyone. I clicked my tongue. After leaving the tea house, I had my household servants make inquiries. The news confirmed it. The fifth prince had a terminal illness and was not long for this world. My heart stirred. Besides, they say matchmakers prefer those with full blessings. Since the lady of Huyu County is a widow, perhaps I too could share in her fortune. That evening, I tested father again. He pondered for a long time. Medicinal? He does have a distinct medicinal scent about him. I hadn't noticed until you mentioned it. Imperial physicians frequently visit his residence, though I've never learned the nature of his illness. Father, I said, I'm willing to marry the fifth prince. Can you guarantee I'll be the principal consort, not a secondary wife or concubine? Father shot me a glare. If marrying him could secure father's official position, strengthen my maternal family, and allow me to become a noble widow, why wouldn't I seize this opportunity? Moreover, my aunt would rise above others in our household. The principal wife would never dare trouble her again. To put it more elegantly, half of the principal wife's position would rightfully belong to my aunt. Father's promotion came by imperial decree, 1 edict, 2 blessings. Congratulations, 5th Miss Jiang. We look forward to your kindness when we meet in the palace, the eunuch who read the decree said, bowing low. I smiled and thanked him. Father rewarded him with a gold ingot. The wedding was set for the 2nd month of the coming year. I could no longer leave the house, spending my days secluded, embroidering my wedding gown. Anxiety crept back in. What if the fifth prince's frail health meant he wouldn't live to see me as his bride? Thankfully, he endured until the next year. As if celebrating my survival against his supposed ill fortune, the wedding was lavish and grand. Veiled in red, I sat upon the bridal bed as polite, restrained laughter filled the room. Suddenly, light flooded my vision as the veil was lifted. I tilted my head to look at the man beside me. I froze. It's you? But you're the Lake County princesses. My words trailed off as I realized my slip. What am I to the lady of Huyang County? A male companion? He asked, extending his hand toward me. I flinched, pulling my neck back. He chuckled softly, his slender fingers resting on my phoenix crown. It must be heavy. Let me help you remove it. His voice was gentle and unhurried, instilling a sense of calm. How could I trouble you? I'll have my maid do it, I murmured. He worked meticulously and slowly, not tugging a single strand of hair. When my neck finally felt free, I looked up to see him already offering me a cup of hot tea as he sat down opposite me. We've met 6 times. Do you remember? I accepted the tea and nodded, though truthfully, I couldn't recall the exact number. Your Highness, I cleared my throat, do you know you're marrying me? The moment I spoke, I regretted it. The question felt abrupt and intrusive. I must have been too nervous, I kept saying the wrong things. I know. His tone was calm, and as he spoke, a faint smile touched his lips as he looked at me. My face flushed instantly, and I didn't know how to respond. He chuckled softly. Hungry? Shall I order you a late-night snack? I nodded eagerly. During the meal, I couldn't help but sneak glances at him. His hands were beautiful, but his skin was too pale, and he looked rather sallow. Plus, there really was a faint medicinal scent about him. He really was ill, wasn't he? He suddenly looked at me. Guilty, I lowered my head and ate the noodles in my bowl. Jiangshu. HM? I looked up. He held a handkerchief, reaching across the table. I froze. His handkerchief gently touched the corner of my mouth. You have soup on your lips, he said. Thank you. I lowered my head to eat again. Neither of us spoke for a while. No matter how much time dragged on, it couldn't be held back. When the third watch drum sounded, I yawned quietly, my eyes drifting toward the fifth prince for what felt like the 100th time. He sat quietly under the lamp, book in hand. He didn't urge me on, nor did he make any effort to strike up conversation. We shared the same room, yet each was alone in their thoughts. Though silent, the atmosphere didn't feel awkward. After another hour, drowsiness finally overtook me. I drifted off without knowing when. When I awoke the next morning, the fifth prince was still there, holding his book just as he had the night before. The quilt covering me lay perfectly smooth. My clothes were untroubled, and I felt no unusual sensations on my body. Last night, he hadn't done much, he hadn't even woken me. Awake? He asked softly, setting his book aside. Would you like to sleep a little longer, or rise now? Now. I sat up, hugging the quilt. He gave a slight nod and headed toward the washroom. I quickly dressed, and by the time I emerged, he had already returned. We must go to the palace this morning to pay our respects. I glanced at the water clock and felt a wave of regret wash over me. On our wedding night, not only had we not consummated our marriage, but I had slept until the sun was high in the sky. I never slept this late even back home. Don't worry, I'm here, he murmured in the carriage. My health is fragile. Even if we're late, Mother won't blame us. I exhaled in relief. Thank you. He smiled. Upon entering the palace, the fifth prince took full responsibility upon himself. The empress watched him with a deeply satisfied smile. She then turned to me. He's been solitary since childhood, not one for many words. At home, try to talk to him more. Having someone to keep him company will truly make a difference. I stole a glance at the fifth prince. I didn't find him solitary, nor did he seem particularly quiet. I noticed he had indeed drunk a bowl of medicine before lunch. After he left, I searched his room but found no prescription. It felt inappropriate to ask outright what illness he suffered from. Would you like to stroll in the garden? The weather is lovely today. I plan to bring out several camellia plants to bask in the sun. You grow flowers? Do you tend them yourself? Yes. Would you like to see? Intrigued, I followed him to his greenhouse. It was spacious and meticulously organized, filled with diverse blooms, each thriving beautifully. I'd always wanted to grow flowers, but since Jiangxi broke out in rashes from their scent, our home had never had any. Later, when I married into the Marquis's household, Xia reacted just like Jiangxi, sniffing flowers made him sneeze incessantly. So until today, I'd never personally tended to any plants or flowers. I followed behind the fifth prince, assisting him while also busy moving the flowers outside. When I returned, I saw him standing still, clutching his hand. What's wrong? I stepped closer to him. Did you cut your hand? It's bleeding. It's fine, just a small cut. Don't worry. I grabbed his hand, calling for water and medicine while helping him sit down to stop the bleeding. Does it hurt? He shook his head. Eunuch Kai personally brought the medicine box. Seeing the fifth prince's injury, he froze for a moment. Is it you who's hurt? Eunuch Kai was about 20, fair-skinned and plump, with a cheerful appearance. After speaking, he muttered under his breath, "How could a pair of scissors possibly hurt you?" I shot Eunuch Kai a puzzled glance. This servant thought it was the Empress. Eunuch Kai chuckled as he squatted before the fifth prince. Just as he was about to apply the medicine, the fifth prince asked, "Have you finished the accounts?" Eunuch Kai's eyes darted about, then he exclaimed, "Oh my! Not yet." He hurriedly thrust the medicine box at me. "Then I'll leave His Highness's hand in your care. I have other duties to attend to. Thank you for your trouble, Your Highness." I couldn't help but feel this eunuch seemed rather indifferent toward the fifth prince. After taking a few steps, Kai Gonggong seemed to remember something and returned to instruct me. "Oh, Your Highness. His Highness's hand mustn't get wet. I'm afraid you'll have to take extra care of it these next few days." I nodded with a smile, thinking to myself that with so many servants at home, it hardly seemed necessary for me to attend to him personally. After Eunuch Kai left, I applied the medicine to the fifth prince's finger and asked, "Does it hurt?" His lips twitched slightly as he murmured, "It hurts." The wound wasn't deep, but fingers are connected to the heart, perhaps the pain was real. I carefully bandaged his fingers. When I looked up, I found him watching me, and I froze for a moment. He asked me with a smile, "Rui, Jean, which character do you think is better? Is His Majesty going to infaf you as a prince?" He nodded. "Then you can't ask this humble servant about the title." I wouldn't dare to say. "You choose any, I'll accept any," he laughed. I pondered for a moment. Yu Zhang yields gold, yet it is richly layered. I like the character Jean. He looked thoughtful. I didn't think much of it, but come afternoon, the imperial edict arrived. His title truly did contain the character Jean. He remarked, "Father also liked this character. It seems it truly is a good one." My heart skipped a beat. I pointed to the bowl before him. "Eat. Eat your meal." He gave a soft hum, scooping soup with his left hand, only to spill it all over himself. "Are you all right? Did it burn you?" I wiped the oil from his clothes. Glancing around, I felt a pang of dissatisfaction. Were the servants in the prince's mansion truly so lacking in awareness? Seeing their master soil his garments, they stood frozen like wooden figures, utterly motionless. Not nearly as quick-witted as the servants at the Jiang residence. "Is your left hand inconvenient?" I asked him. An injury from childhood," he replied, sighing. I hesitated, then ladled more soup and placed it before him. "Shall I feed you?" He paused, looking embarrassed. "I can skip it." I brought the spoon to his lips. "It is my duty to serve you." He smiled slightly, his ears flushing. "Then I'm putting you to trouble." The homecoming celebration was lively. Su Hanji also attended. When he saw me, he paused briefly before turning away to converse with Prince Jean. Prince Jean was very accommodating, making my aunt overjoyed. She quietly asked me about consummating the marriage. "What? You haven't consummated it yet? Is he not up to it?" my aunt exclaimed in surprise. I covered her mouth. "Don't shout like that. Someone might hear." "But it's actually possible. He hasn't touched me in 2 days, nor has he forced me. A normal man wouldn't behave like this, would he? He doesn't seem to dislike me either." My auntie started fretting again. "Should I go look for some folk remedies? We need to have a child eventually, or what's the point?" I want a child too. I never had one in my past life, and it became one of my regrets. "Forget it," I told my auntie. "He's a prince. If something happened to him, we couldn't afford the consequences. If it's not meant to be, then it's not. I feel." Before I could finish, my aunt suddenly covered my mouth with her hand and stood up. "Your Highness, you're here. Please come inside." My mind buzzed. Hesitantly, I turned around and saw Prince Jean standing at the courtyard gate, having arrived unnoticed. "When did you come?" I asked him. "Just now," he replied, smiling as he entered. "What were you discussing?" I felt terribly guilty. After all, we'd been discussing him behind his back. Just chatting about trivial matters. Please sit down. I'll make you some tea. Prince Jean sat down naturally and joined my aunt in conversation. She grew even happier, adoring him immensely. Not a trace of arrogance. Doesn't look down on my lowly origins. He's a man you can truly rely on. I agreed he seemed promising, though it was a pity. If it truly didn't work out, could we consider adopting a child? But that wasn't something to discuss now. We'd think about it in a few years. At dinner, my aunt sat in the seat of honor for the first time and right beside the legitimate mother. When Prince Jean offered a toast, he toasted both my aunt and the legitimate mother together. The legitimate mother's face darkened. She struggled to hold back her anger, her hands trembling. The concubine beamed, her eyes reddened with emotion. I felt joy too. I knew that as long as I remained Prince Jin's consort, no one in the Jiang household would dare mistreat her, even the principal wife would give her deference. After returning home, Prince Jean grew more talkative and invited me to his study. This time, I unexpectedly discovered a medical prescription tucked between the pages of one of his books. I quietly memorized the names of the herbs, intending to find someone to inquire about them. What are you looking at? Prince Jean suddenly approached. My prescription? I seized the moment to ask, Your Highness. Are you unwell? He paused, his tone casual. An old ailment, digestive imbalance. The physician said one more dose and I'll be fine. I stared at him, utterly dumbfounded. So it was merely an imbalance between the spleen and stomach? He looked at me, puzzled. What is it? Nothing. Nothing at all. I couldn't very well say, rumors outside claim you're near death, yet you claim it's merely an imbalance between the spleen and stomach? Your Highness, you calculate so swiftly and accurately, Eunuch Kai remarked as he sat beside me, watching me work the abacus. Did you learn this from childhood? My aunt taught me. She was a merchant's daughter and could calculate even faster and better. Eunuch Kai's expression shifted to one of understanding, then he seemed to think of something else. Our prince excels in martial arts, having trained since childhood. I paused and looked at Eunuch Kai. Eunuch Kai also looked at me. Have I spoken out of turn again? He asked. I shook my head. Skilled in martial arts? Then how could he be injured by cutting a flower branch with scissors? What are you talking about? Prince Jean strolled in. Eunuch Kai vanished in a flash. I looked at Prince Jean with a half-smile. Eunuch Kai said you've practiced martial arts since childhood and are very skilled. He sat down opposite me, sipping his tea. And? I stared at him in disbelief. This was the first time he'd ever spoken to me with such a questioning tone. Feeling reckless, I pressed on, so. How did your Highness injure your hand? Prince Jin's eyes sparkled, growing brighter with a hint of amusement. He reached out and ruffled my hair, then replied with something completely off topic. So, I'm perfectly healthy. Stop worrying. After that, he sat across from me reading a book. The more I thought about it, the more off it felt, and I glared up at him. That night, I lay down first, and he came up behind me. My body flinched, but he gently stroked my back. I'm not unwell, he murmured in my ear. I didn't dare move these past days for fear of alarming you. Now that you're more familiar with me, might you feel more at ease? I dared not look at him, my heart pounding wildly. Jiang Shu, he said softly, truthfully, it was I who asked the lady of Huyu County to act as my matchmaker. He spoke at length, and I listened in a haze. He said he first saw me outside the Xinping Marquis' mansion, overhearing my conversation with Su Yao. At the time, he thought me bold. Later, after learning what happened at the mansion that day, he thought me clever. He said he saw me 5 more times after that, and each time, I was doing something mischievous. He said, since marriage is inevitable, why not marry someone clever and interesting? I drifted along with him, unable to recall what I'd said. I only knew that some things, when done, weren't as repulsive or repellent as I'd feared. Prince Jean seldom ventured out, yet the Crown Prince frequently visited his residence. I noticed the Crown Prince consulted him on nearly every matter. He relied on him deeply. No wonder father chose Prince Jean. With him, many troublesome matters would be resolved effortlessly. Prince Jean also took a keen interest in the eldest imperial grandson, urging His Majesty to send him to the Imperial Enlightenment Temple for upbringing. I worried incessantly, unsure if the eldest imperial grandson would one day return to seize the throne. The crown prince welcomed his fourth son this month and took a new concubine, Prince Jean told me. The world is unpredictable, there's no need to fret prematurely. I recalled my past life when the crown prince ascended the throne. There were only 3 sons, including the eldest grandson. In this life, there are already 4? In my past life, the eldest grandson wasn't sent to the imperial temple. This time he was. Might he be taught to be more gentle? Later that year, my mother arranged a marriage for my third sister to a minor scholar from a lesser family. I objected, finding the man too dull and lazy. Poverty is one thing, but such filth in the home? A family this lazy and undisciplined is unmarriageable. My mother knew I was being deliberately obstinate. Furious, she threw down her responsibilities and summoned Jiang Feng home. Yet in his reply, he wrote that she was advanced in years and should retire to rest and enjoy her twilight years. My mother fell ill with rage. Father then entrusted the marriage arrangements for all 3 sisters to my stepmother. The 3 sisters were delighted, spending each day playing cards with my stepmother. The 4 of us even selected husbands together, insisting we must each find someone we truly liked. Dozing in a rocking chair in the garden, I dreamed of ascending to heaven. I awoke laughing, to find Prince Jean sitting beside me, fanning me. What dream made you laugh so joyfully? A most beautiful dream, I replied. Was I in it? Yes, of course. And our children too. The end.